everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we're back for another brand new video. Today is a video after a wee cheeky detour down Transfer Alley last night where we spoke about two Rangers players that will be leaving the football club very shortly. We are back on track and back on league football things, ladies and gentlemen, because we are here to preview and predict Rangers versus Livingston. But as always, before we go any further on with today's video, just a quick little shout out to the channel sponsors and the channel legends themselves, One Football, whose link is right down there if you want a free footballing app. But as there's an actual game of football to break down and discuss, let's get on with it, shall we? And starting off with the old oppositional preview, we face a Livingston side that, it has to be said, isn't looking as strong defensively as they have over the last couple of seasons, especially at the Tony Macaroni, where usually that is their bread and butter all season. Tight, make it difficult and go ahead and pick up points at home. Well, that's not happened so far. And not only were they John beaten the last time they played at home, they were bona fide ripped and pummeled to pieces by Hibs, who came away with a 4-1 smashing when it could have honestly been even more than 4. However, regarding their last game, it does have to be considered a bounce back performance for Livingston, where they started to look like the team they were at certain points last season, because they travelled to Fir Park in their most recent game and came back not only once but twice in the game. And that's how the game actually finished. It finished 2-2 at Fir Park. But in truth, if you go ahead and look in to that performance, it has to be said Livingston were fantastic and beat Motherwell in every single aspect of the game. You're talking about possession, you're talking about shots, you're talking about shots on target, you're talking about how many passes in the game and passing accuracy. Hell, they even won the foul battle. So I think coming into this game versus Rangers, despite their disappointing start to the season, they'll definitely see positives on that performance alone. And listen, if I'm just being honest to you watching today's video, a lot has been made about Livingston's terrible start. Is this the season Livingston's going to struggle all year? But if you go and look at the games, yes, they did get a shock 1-0 loss at St Mirren at the start of the season, but if you look into that game, they pumped St Mirren to pieces. We talked about that in the St Mirren preview. And also, if you look at even the Hibs game that we talked about right at the start of today's video, they also managed to still get 12 shots off in the game. So it's not about making chances, and this isn't a team that's struggling to create anything and looking void at any confidence or any ability. They are making chances, they are getting shots off. It's taking the chances that's costing them so far. And I think that's perfectly highlighted by the fact that they have only scored 3 goals all season in the opening 3 matches. And 2 of their goals, by the way, came from the penalty spot slapped in by Big Dykes. And listen, I know exactly what you're thinking. Can you imagine the meltdown throughout the Scottish media if Rangers started the season off and in their first 3 games they got 2 penalty kicks? It'd be absolutely vicious, ladies and gentlemen. The SPFL would have to go through their quarantine system 55 times just to get through all the ramblings. But back to the Livingston Football Club and how they're setting up so far this season. They were actually originally lining up in their first 2 games in a 3-4-2-1. Very similar to what we discussed and broke down in the St Johnstone preview, how we perfectly nailed how they were going to be setting up, by the way. That's one for the channel. But after those 2 disappointing games where they were carved open far too much, they went and changed it and reverted back to something they used to do last season versus Motherwell, and it was much more structured and much more defensively sound, and that was the 4-2-3-1, which, as you can imagine, when they are defending, drops into a very deep and narrow 5-3-2. And what I imagine we'll see a lot of tomorrow when they are dropped in and playing that 5-3-2, you're going to see a lot of long balls to big London Dykes, and you're going to see one player, maybe it's Forrest, maybe it's somebody on the other side next to London Dykes, feeding and running on from those knock-ons from the big man. Now, speaking of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow, let's get to some Livingston team news then, shall we? And right off the bat, to start us off, we have former Rangers man Jason Holt, who's obviously now a Livingston player, and good luck to him. You know what I mean? This isn't one of these players that never came here and worked their arse off and it was just part and parcel of just coming here for a paycheck. That laddie, for me, ran his heart out every single time he pulled on a Rangers shirt. So I hope he has a fantastic career over at Livingston, but it's not expected to start tomorrow, as this game may have just came too soon for Jason Holt to go right into the starting 11. Now, someone you should expect to see tomorrow is Efe Ambrose, who is expected to come in to the starting 11 for the injured Brown. Now, in saying that, the rest of the Livingston squad is expected to be around about the same in terms of who's available and who's not from the last game versus Motherwell. However, there is one key player that won't be available tomorrow, and that's of course Rangers goalkeeper that is on loan to Livingston, Robbie McCrory, which means going to the Tony Macaroni tomorrow, we face a backup goalkeeper. And with that being said, that's us all done and dusted with the old oppositional preview. Now it's time to jump over and talk about Rangers Football Club. And starting off the old Rangers preview, sort of where we left off with the Livingston preview, talking about how they're going to set up and play against Rangers, because let's be brutally honest, we all know what we're in for tomorrow. It is going to be one of the biggest physical tests that we'll face all season long, especially on that disaster of a park. And in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be a very, very ugly game to watch tomorrow, which I actually see as more of an opportunity than a hindrance, because so far this season in the opening 3 games we have shown that we can play football and outplay everyone. We can zip it about beautifully, build up from the back and just carve teams open that is sitting in and playing that shocking low block. Well, now coming into this game versus Livingston, we can show we can do all that, but also we can roll up our sleeves and get ugly when it needs to get ugly, and win ugly, more importantly. Very similar to what we did versus Aberdeen in the opening game of the season. However, when you pass the football at Aberdeen, it isn't bouncing about like Godzilla is walking by like it does at the Tony Macaroni. But listen, as much as I've mentioned it and as I've joked about the plastic park, we cannot look at this game and go into this game using that as an excuse for us not turning up and doing the job tomorrow. We have enough experience, especially in this squad now. They've played enough on plastic parks. When you look at it and look at the standard our top game now, 3 of the top 12 teams all play on plastic surfaces, and we play them repetitively enough per season now to be all up to speed on what to do and what not to do on that terrible surface. So from me, there's no excuses going into this game versus Livingston for not getting the job done and coming away with all 3 points. And hell, just listen to what Steven Gerrard said in this week's press conference when he was asked about the physical battle, the park, all this malarkey that is gone to the Tony Macaroni. What did Gerrard say? He said, and I quote, "We welcome the battle." Now that beautiful man has went ahead and said that, it's now down to the players to go out there and show they do as well. And you know what, as we went ahead and mentioned the press conference, let's dive into it a wee bit deeper. And what we got from Steven Gerrard during this press conference is an answer to a couple of questions that I think would be very interesting to talk about in today's video. The first one up is a question that a lot of us sort of had in the back of our minds going into this game tomorrow. Would it be the exact same 11 that's played the back-to-back games and back-to-back 3-0 wins? Well, we got the answer from Steven Gerrard, and the answer is no. Which is a real shame, because I think this type of consistency is what's needed to get us to where we want to go. But this one has been forced upon Steven Gerrard to make, as Big Leon Balogun is officially ruled out of the game tomorrow with a quad issue. Now, we don't know the full extent of how long he's going to be out or how bad the injury is. All we know is it's going to get scanned and we'll know from there. But everything has been said and what Gerrard kind of talked about, it's led me to believe it's not as serious to think he's going to be out for a very, very long time. So touch wood, that's right, and we see Big Leon very, very soon. But with Big Balogun out of the game tomorrow, it does leave us with a very, very interesting choice to make at that left centre-back spot, because you go ahead and look at it, right? You've got George Edmondson, who had a very strong pre-season, bit wayward with a passing now and again, but for me, defensively, doing the job as a defender, for me, he got a pass mark all pre-season long. And on the other side, you have Philippe Hollander, who made his 9-month injury comeback versus Bayer Leverkusen in his first game in 9 months. The best way to summarise it, it looked like he had missed a day of training, never mind 9 months. And that performance wasn't a fluke, because when he came on in the second half versus St Johnstone, he made a couple of very, very good defensive decisions, including a perfectly timed slide challenge. In fact, he made 2 perfectly timed slide challenges, and you know what you get from Hollander. Yes, he might not be the fastest player in the world, but he sees the game up here and it reads it beautifully. Very, very similar to what Davy Weir done all those years ago when he came up for his 6 months, which turned into you know what. But that right there leads us into the question of today's episode that I'm asking you who's still watching. Who do you want to see play tomorrow? Is it Big George, whose birthday it is, by the way? So tip to the quarantine cap to you, Big George. Happy birthday, big man. Or do you go with the Swiss King himself, Philippe Hollander? And while you guys are hopefully answering the old question of the episode, I'll give you mine very, very briefly, because I'll tell you right now, I'm sort of torn with this one, because naturally I'm leaning towards Hollander, right? His performances have been brilliant since he comes back, and you know what you get with him. And I think defensively in this game versus Livingston, when they are going to play for set pieces, where they are going to be most threatening from corners, cheap free kicks, all that stuff, I think someone of his experience and his defensive awareness will be key in this game. But you have to pull it back to the plastic park with the injury he had, the fact he has played 2 games already since coming back. Do you risk Hollander on that disgusting surface? I'm just going to go with what's in the noggin, and I'm going to say go with Hollander, because he, in my opinion, gives us the best chance of keeping a clean sheet. But again, that isn't me taking a dig at George Edmondson saying he's not good enough or anything like that. I'm just answering the old question that I asked you. Now, regarding Steven Gerrard, as you can expect, he didn't give us any indication on which way he was leaning between Edmondson and Hollander. However, he did give us a very, very important update on another player. And it is a player that everyone is choking to see more of, and it is, of course, King Kamar. Roof, who a lot of people are very excited to see play in a Rangers shirt, including myself, more and more. However, Gerrard was very open and very honest and gave us a detailed answer, in my opinion. Where Roof is right now with the football club is he's still breaking his way through pre-season. This isn't a Cedric Itten type of thing where he's been playing games, or even a Leon Balogun when he came here, he was playing games. He's not played a game all year, ladies and gentlemen. So they're doing double training sessions, they're doing this and that, and they're trying to get him up to speed as quickly as possible. But where he is right now, going into this game tomorrow, he's nowhere near ready to be starting games. And Gerrard actually went ahead and confirmed that if you do see Roof, it will be from the bench as it builds up. Which, now that Gerrard has officially confirmed that he will not be starting, I look forward to tomorrow when he's announced in the starting 11. But in all seriousness, I'm actually okay, because I think we're all seeing the importance now of a full pre-season, being at 100%, because just look at Ryan Kent, for example, how he started the season off, because we've built him up and got him ready. We haven't just flung him in like we did when we brought him into the team last season. So I'm fully fine with being patient with Roof, because I know the quality's there. It's just getting him to a place where he is able to show it. And you know what, that's sorry it for the old press conference recap. Now it's time to dive over to the latest team news, where again we didn't get a detailed question on an update for your Alan McGregor's, your Jermaine Defoe's. We didn't get that update. All we do know is Alan McGregor isn't listed as an injured or an injury out for this game, so that must mean that he's back in and amongst it. But if you saw him on Rangers TV the other day for the St Johnstone game, he was saying he was going through a wee bit of pain, and he was going to have an injection that does take a couple of days to kick in. So this game may just come too early for him. And if I'm being honest, the way John McLaughlin is playing, I wouldn't be rushing Alan McGregor back until he is at 100%, because in my opinion, we're in safe hands with John McLaughlin. And with all that being said, now it's time for me and thee to try and predict, now you know just a little bit more about the game tomorrow. So go ahead and share your opinions. And while you guys are doing that, I will give you mine very, very briefly. Like I said, I'm expecting a very ugly game, so it is going to be a wee bit lower in the scoreline than what we've been doing recently. But I do think we are going to keep a clean sheet in this game. A lot of people, I imagine, is expecting Livingston to score, especially how dangerous they are from set pieces and that. But I think it's going to continue, and I'm going to go with a Rangers 2, Livingston 0. My goal scorers are going to be Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent. And now that me and thee have had their say, let's jump over to Twitter then and hear from the people. Now, there's been 1,632 votes. Thank you so much for getting involved. 2% votes for Livingston, 3% votes for the draw, but the far and away winner with 94% of the people is a Rangers away win. So let's see what they've had to say. Matt is the first one in, and he writes in, my gut feeling is saying 2-2. What? Tell your gut to wind the neck in, eh? Embarrassing yourself. Use miles off it. But it goes on. I'm going to go with 2-0 anyway. I feel bad. I wish I read that part before. I just dug you out there, Matt. I apologise, mate. But he says, the 2-0 victory will be with Morelos and Hadji to score. Let's move on quickly. Rob Ross writes in, expecting the usual tough physical match with Rangers working hard for a 2-0 win with Morelos and Tav grabbing a goal each. Kai writes in, easy 2-0. I like that. With Aribo and Alfie to score. Harris writes in, another 3-0 victory for Rangers with Aribo, Kent and Big Hollander with the goals. And the last 2 or 3 that we'll read out, scroll nearer to the bottom. Stop it right here. Derek is the first one in. He writes in 5 spot. I've got a 5 spot on 6-0. Cedric, simply the best, writes in 2-0, it in double. And the last one we'll read out in tonight's video, we'll scroll all the way up here, we'll scroll all the way down here, and we'll stop it right here. And it comes from Lewis Campbell, and he writes in 1-0 to Rangers. I think it's going to be a very scrappy affair because of that horrific park, CJ. Whoever has the job of handling Dykes has to be on their game, and I think Roof will be the goal scorer in the game. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Now you've heard from the people, you've heard from myself. If you haven't done so already, you know what to do by now. And actually, before we finish up today's video, we obviously lost a Rangers legend yesterday, so I just want to give my respect and best wishes to the family and say rest in peace to Tom Forsyth as well. Like, I never know what to say at these type of things, but he was an absolute legend to this football club that my dad spoke about so much, so I felt like I wanted to actually give him a wee bit at the end and just say best wishes to the family as well. But with everything being said, thank you so much for watching today's video. All the best and bye.